So if I want to learn how an astronaut burps or how sensors work, the first thing I usually do is turn to a book. But what if I can't read text, and what if I can't see any of these images? And that made me think, how would a blind person learn these different STEM topics? Fortunately, there's a charity out there called Benetech that is trying to solve this problem. They are taking books and they are turning them into a format that screen readers can use. And for more complicated things like pieces of artwork or complicated graphs and diagrams and structures, they're trying to create haptic feedback or tactile things or 3D printed objects. And I had the great fortune to interview them to learn a little bit more about their charity. So I was able to interview Lisa.
So hello, my name is Dr. Lisa Waters-Verne. I am the Senior Program Manager for Education, Research, and Partnerships for both Bookshare, which we'll speak with you about in a few minutes, as well as the Diagram community.
And Brad.
And I'm Brad Turner, and I run global literacy here at Benetech, which includes Bookshare and an initiative we have called Born Accessible.
And they told me a little bit more about their charity called Benetech.
We're really a high-tech company, but working on high-tech for social good. And so that means that we solve problems for underserved populations, a lot of times where for-profit companies won't step in and solve those problems. There's a couple places. There's a human rights program that we have. We also have a labs initiative, which is kind of looking for that next big thing. And then our largest initiative is our global literacy initiative, which includes Bookshare and the Diagram Center, which Lisa will talk about, and Born Accessible. The Bookshare portion of that is the largest online library for people who are blind, visually impaired, dyslexic, or have a mobility impairment. So if you can't hold the book, can't see the book, or can't decode the book, you can qualify for Bookshare under a special copyright law exemption. So we have members in 80 countries. We have books in 34 languages. We have about 600,000 titles. We have distributed over 12 million books to people all around the world that wouldn't otherwise be able to read if we didn't provide them the books the way that we do. So we can provide books in an audio format, but we also provide them in a online braille, electronic braille format, in a large print, and even in a karaoke style reading where the words highlight at the same time that they are voiced, so that someone with a learning disability like dyslexia can follow on a word-by-word basis and still get the content.
There was a student, and when he was struggling, he has dyslexia, and the school wanted to place him in special ed, and the mom said, you know what, let's just work with him. Let's get him what he needs. They were reading him books every night at dinner. She tells stories about how she stirred the pasta pot while she would be reading his work. Not only would mom and dad be reading, but grandma and grandpa, multiple family members would be part of this. It was definitely it impacted their entire family. And they found Bookshare. And now this student is a junior at Cornell. And he's, I think he's number 2 in his class. He's doing pretty well,
doing great.
Right? And so it just showed how Bookshare, just having access to books in a way that worked for him, he was now able to go to his room and study and not have to rely on his parents to read to him. He studied for his SATs using Bookshare resources. And so it just really goes to show that how, because he's been a member of Bookshare so long, just the potential that this student had and how he was able to really accomplish his goals and his dreams, all through being able to just access books in a way that worked for him.
The Bookshare program is great at turning something like Harry Potter into something that a screen reader can use. They can chop the spine off a book, scan in the pages, and then someone proofs it to make sure that the screen reader is reading what was actually in the book. But it would be much better if all books were screen reader accessible and you didn't have to go through those steps. So they have a Born Accessible program that they're using. They're working with major publishers to try and make sure the original digital copy can be used by screen readers. You just have to tag things in the proper order for a table of contents, headers, or alternative text for images. But the images can get a little tricky if you're doing something like a calculus book. So that's why they have a Diagram Center, and they're using tactile, haptic, and 3D printed methods to bring these images and these graphs alive.
So when you think about that chart or that graph or even a strand of DNA, right, how do you describe that to someone who has no frame of reference as to what that means? You may say it's two ladders twisted. But for someone who's blind, what does that twist mean? Is it twisted in half? Is it twisted side to side? And so we really wanted to tackle that challenge to look at, how do we explain, or how do we provide access to people who need a little bit more help? And so what we did is we thought, well, you know what, with the rise of 3D printers and the availability of having access to them either through makerspaces or libraries or even in their schools, maybe if we provide that 3D printed version of that object, people will understand the content much more meaningfully than they would by just reading about it alone.
I asked Lisa what can makers do to help, and she said if you have a 3D printer, you could print stuff for a school if they don't have enough time, or you could go and try and help a teacher learn more about 3D printers or troubleshoot for them. And if you have CAD experience and you're putting in things on Thingiverse or Hackster.io, maybe you could talk with somebody with a visual impairment. Sometimes the things that we put up there are a little too complex for someone to learn all at once, so maybe we need to make them in smaller pieces. But let's make sure what we're making actually works for learners. And I asked her to share an experience of how much 3D printed objects actually help learners.
And as we did that, we passed the Helix around the room. And there was a woman in the back of the room who all of a sudden she just gasped. And so we stopped because we didn't know what had happened. And what we heard her say in the back was, I have heard about this double helix my entire life, right? And she's probably about our age. Yeah. So real young. And so she said, I've heard about this my entire life. This is the first time I actually could see it, because she was blind and she just never had heard, she never was able to really put it together as to what it looked like. And, it was really meaningful for us because we really got a chance to see someone that we weren't testing. We were just giving a presentation, and her response was so impressive that
she held it up and she said, I see it now.
Yeah.
I've never seen it before, but now I see it. And it gave everybody in the room got chills. It was such a cool experience. So
I still get chills when we talk about it.
Yeah.
I asked Brad what else we could do to help. He said we can volunteer to scan in pages or to proof the books. And if you're someone that buys educational content, please make sure you buy ones that are accessible. They have a Benetech certification program if you want to check that out. And the more we buy accessible books, the more this is going to drive publishers to make sure they're born accessible. And this means more people are going to be able to learn a wider variety of content. And it's good for everybody, whether you have visual impairments or learning disabilities, or you just want a second way to reinforce what you're learning. If you'd like to learn more about Benetech, the entire interview is over here, and there's links down in the description below. I made this video for the Project for Awesome. It's all about promoting charities and raising money for them. If you would like to vote for this charity to get some of the money that we raised, you can go to the link down below. And as always, thank you for learning and exploring with us.